So Ukraine is fighting back against Russia in a big way. They just launched an offensive a few days ago and have begun retaking a lot of territory that Russia took. And it looks like they might be on track to retake most or even all of the territory that has been claimed by Russia. There's even been talks of retaking Crimea, which was taken in 2014, if you remember. Back then, that was a big scandal. Russia just straight up invading a country, or a part of a country they thought should be theirs. And now, Ukraine, the beginning of the end, by Adam Something. Adam Something is a Eastern European himself, so he's very involved in the very strong opinions about the Russia-Ukraine conflict, so let's hear it.
Week of August 2022, the Ukrainians launched a much-awaited counter-offensive in the Kherson region, aiming to retake it along with its regional center, Kherson City. Russian propagandists and military bloggers initially tried to downplay the events, writing about thousands of Ukrainian soldiers killed, 400% of all Ukrainian HIMARS launchers destroyed, and
400%.
But then Ukrainians broke through the first line of defense and started...
Yeah, of course Russia is going to do all sorts of propaganda against... I mean, they always do that. I mean, it's Russia. What do you expect?
Liberating settlements. It's been about 2 weeks since they started, and their momentum does not seem to have slowed down. In fact, Ukrainians began another surprise offensive in the Kharkiv region, where they absolutely decimated the unprepared and under-equipped Russians. Why is this extremely important? Because we have reason to believe that this operation is the beginning of the end for Russia, and not just their military, but potentially the modern Russian state. So on the occasion of the 200th day of Russia's 3-day special military operation, let's review the current situation and its awesome implications.
Yeah, because this is has huge political implications for Russia, right? If Putin loses this war that they should have won by all accounts, right? Gonna be really bad for Putin. Gonna be really bad for Putin's government, which is going to become very delegitimized and unpopular within Russia,
including the eventual reduction of energy bills in Europe. With that being said, allow me to quickly pay mine, as power costs are hitting historic highs. And as a result, we've seen a flurry of government action to try and handle the crisis. Now, normally, people's income from passive investments could help ease the pain of the cost of living crisis. But unfortunately, Goldman Sachs reports that a typical stock-heavy portfolio is expected to flatline at best this year. And so what do you do when inflation is making your savings a bad place to keep money as well?
Okay, well, I should start selling
outside
stuff,
of the stock market. No, not a safe for a pillow. I'm talking safe haven assets like fine art. And that's where today's sponsor, Masterworks, comes in. It basically works like this.
Fine art, I don't know about that.
On TechCrunch, CNBC, and Forbes.
Yeah, investing in art as a
for an average net return of
store of value, I don't know. Because
but that's still pretty incredible.
Art, just like anything, it's only worth what people are willing to pay for it. And art has no like inherent value other than people thinking it looks pretty.
Back to the video.
So like it's a luxury item, and that's going to be the first to go once things get tough, right? People are going to want to buy things that are actually useful. So if the economy ever collapses or something, yeah, you're going to want to be holding on to useful goods. I mean, I buy some random stuff that might be useful. I just buy a bunch of random stuff, but they all have a utility, right? I bought like I don't know, some ropes, some strong, sturdy like cables, because you know, they can be used for all sorts of things. Rope is just very versatile. It's been around since the beginning of civilization, and you know, you can use it to restrain or use it for practical purposes. You know, there's some practical and non-practical use for rope. You can do some kinky stuff with it for sure, but it's also very useful for, like, you know, all sorts of stuff. I bought this scale. Bought this little mini scale for, like, I don't know, weighing stuff. Mostly weed, but it's very useful for, like, very generally useful item. I bought nunchucks. Check these out. They're foam nunchucks, so they're for training, but they can still hurt. Ugh. Whoa. Fuck. Anyway. And I bought I guess I bought some art stuff, right? Or things that look pretty. Ooh, I bought this. Check this out, this iron grip trainer. It's a very fancy one. The one that goes all the way up to 176 pounds. Well, it's on 152 pounds right now, and I can't quite squeeze it all the way closed, but it's very, very useful, and I can probably resell this for at least like $40 or $50, right? Anyway, little tangent there.
Though, with large concentrated forces and sweeping maneuvers, that is a surprise tool that would help Ukraine later. It was preceded by what Philip O'Brien calls the Battle of the Bridges, where the Ukrainians, with the help of HIMARS, systematically destroyed the Antonievsky Road Bridge and the Novak...
Week 2 or Week 8 doesn't really matter. Ukrainian strategy now seems to confirm the Russians behave as expected. It's a situation now of logistics and attrition. We all know how the Russians handle logistical issues. Not very well, it seems.
Kakhovka Road and Rail Bridge. This forced the Russians to use ferries across the river. But the
Wait, who's this guy? Author. Oh, he's the author of the second most powerful man in the world. Not the second most. Okay.
Nova Kakhovka Road and Rail Bridge. This forced the Russians to use ferries across the river. The Antonievsky Road Bridge and the Nova Kakhovka Road and Rail Bridge.
It's a road and rail bridge that they took out.
Forced the Russians to use ferries across the river.
Oh, they gotta use ferries. Oh, look at that Z. Oh, it's painted with a Z. It could be an N from this angle, though. Yeah, Z. What does Z even mean? Who knows?
Throughout the summer, Ukrainians have been loud and clear about the counteroffensive starting any day now. Russians therefore called a massive force to the right bank of the Dnipro River. Why were Ukrainians so vocal about their intentions? Looks like they shot themselves in the foot by giving the game away. Right? Not quite. Right. See, the bridges were still up when Russia pulled their large force to the right bank, and large forces need large amounts of supplies. Ferries alone cannot handle such volume, but by the time Russians were in place, the bridges were disabled, forcing Russians to use ferries, causing an almost immediate supply shortage. Shortly after, Ukrainians began their counteroffensive in earnest in 3 major directions.
Wait, so they let the Russians know ahead of time, which meant that they moved supplies prematurely.
Forces need large amounts of supplies. Bridges were still up when Russia pulled their large force to the right bank, and large forces need large amounts of supplies. Ferries alone cannot handle such volume, but by the time Russians were in place, the bridges were disabled, forcing Russians to use ferries, causing an almost immediate supply shortage.
Okay, so it's a blunder on Russia's part too. They could have acted a lot quicker, but yeah, Russian command seems like very inept. I mean, Russian troops in general are very seems not very competent.
Shortly after, Ukrainians began their counteroffensive in earnest in 3 major directions within the Kherson region. As I've mentioned, this isn't a large-scale sweeping maneuver across the landscape like in the movies. Rather, according to Ukrainian officials, the goal is to gradually isolate the undersupplied Russian forces and then wear them down, causing them to collapse and retreat. Nice. The Ukrainians' task is not easy though. Despite supply issues, Russians still pose a formidable threat in the area due to sheer numbers, and they've also built 3 lines of defense. In the northwest of Kherson, the Ukrainians are moving towards the city itself, village by village. Here they have managed to break through the Russians' first line of defense almost immediately, and now the second as well, it seems. Ukrainians likely don't want to lay a siege on Kherson city, as that would result in a second Mariupol. Rather, the goal is likely to have Russians collapse on all other fronts and have them flee across the river, giving up Kherson without urban warfare.
That'll be a war of attrition. Yeah, urban warfare is the worst kind of warfare to have. Yeah, getting them to retreat, I guess, that would be difficult. I'd be surprised if the Russians didn't try to hold on to the city at all costs.
Ukrainians have created a wedge deep into Russian-occupied territory. They are likely after the main road near the wedge, used to resupply Russian troops further northeast. The more the wedge widens and advances, the bigger the trouble will be for Russians up northeast. In the north, Ukrainians are rolling downward gradually, taking back village after village. The goal of the Kherson counteroffensive is of course to take back everything on the Dnipro River's right bank, but it also has a lesser-known but very practical side effect. If and when Russian defenses collapse and demoralized, exhausted Russian troops flee across the river, all they will have is a few small ferries to do so, meaning they'll have to
they're gonna have to leave behind all of their equipment and vehicles. Cool. yeah, destroying the bridges, destroying infrastructure is a pretty big part of warfare, especially bridges, or, I mean, yeah, bridges mostly, or roads.
In most of their equipment, especially heavy vehicles.
Especially.
Meaning Christmas will come early to the Ukrainian armed forces in the south.
Ooh,
Also,
Christmas
they will
is
get
coming
their washing machines
early.
back from abandoned Russian
What,
position.
did they leave behind a washing machine too? What? And these are, I guess, like boxes for missiles.
But, as you might have heard, the Kherson counteroffensive wasn't the only one. Around the 6th of September, Ukrainians also began a sweeping lightning offensive in the Kharkiv region, which appears to have caught the Russians by complete surprise.
Ooh, surprise. Again, the Russians caught off guard, yeah. Yeah, the Russians seem like very poorly prepared, poorly trained, poorly disciplined. Again, like, seems like the Russians deserve to lose for multiple reasons. One reason being, yeah, they don't want it hard enough. The Ukrainians, they want it more, which means they deserve to win more. So they took this whole region, but they also took like a bunch of stuff, like all across the front. It looks like, you know, it looks like the Battle of the Bulge right here. Not exactly. Now in Battle of the Bulge was being attacked. It wasn't bulging out, right? Yeah, there's some cope from Russia supporters saying that it's a common tactic to allow the enemy to advance into your territory, so you can do a pincer attack, like up and down onto them. But seems like cope. Seems like, yeah, they were caught off guard, and now because there's this bulge, it's going up all the way to this river, so there's like, now the north and the south are kind of separated on this side of the river, right? They can't move troops like north to south unless they're gonna go like around this river. So probably any attempted pincer attack would be very uncoordinated.
According to Philip O'Brien, this means the Russian army is in severe disarray. For Ukraine to
Very
achieve a
disarray.
surprise this close to the Russian border would otherwise be virtually impossible.
Oh
At
wow,
the time of-
it's advancing. Looks like they penetrated into Russia's territory, or occupied territory, and then expanded outward from there. Very nice, very nice.
In this video, Ukrainians have taken back almost everything west of the Oskil River, including Russian strongholds like Balaklia and Izium, and their sole
cool.
logistics lifeline, Kupiansk. Just in Balaklia, hundreds of Russian troops got trapped, including Sobor Spetsnaz units. Those troops have now either fled or died. We even have footage of a Russian
units.
plane getting hit by air
Dead.
defenses in that area. Otherwise, there are reports of multiple downed Russian planes and helicopters.
Ooh, cool.
Ukrainian air defense is solid, so the Russian Air Force cannot come to the rescue. There is also footage of
Ooh,
horror.
of course they got air defense. Yeah, of course. Yeah, the West and NATO has been giving them all sorts of supplies. Whereas Russia, yeah, Russia is kind of on its own. Russia is still using really old tech. Like some of it's really old, like from the later Soviet Union era. I was like, they're so fucking broke, they can't really replenish their equipment very well. Yeah, I mean, it's their fault for like starting this stupid war.
Terrified Russian-speaking Ukrainians quivering in fear as the Azov neo-Nazi NATO Bandera super soldier hordes arrive to oppress them.
Oh yeah, the neo-Nazi super
NATO Bandera super soldier hordes arrive
super
to
soldier
oppress them.
hordes.
They are so afraid, in fact, that they
Oh, they're kissing them. Oh, the babushka is greeting the soldiers, the liberating soldiers. Yeah.
cannot help but cry
Aw.
at the Ukrainian soldiers in their terror.
Oh, they're crying in terror. Yeah, sure.
They also stand next to the road and wave and cheer at passing Ukrainian convoys. That man
yeah.
is so shocked and horrified that he is already practicing kneeling for his impending execution for being a Russian speaker.
He's
The
already
Kharkiv
practicing
counteroffensive seems
kneeling.
to have been made possible by Russians pulling their troops south in anticipation of the Kherson counteroffensive, meaning Ukraine managed to play Russia not on one but two fronts. Consequently, the undermanned and under-equipped Russian formations in the Kharkiv region have collapsed completely. This is
Ooh,
a
he's
tactical
dancing.
rout, one that will have severe consequences for the Russians. Meanwhile, pro-Russian propagandists and bloggers are
Yeah, he's that guy was celebrating. Wait, that guy was Ukrainian, right? Oh yeah, Syrian girl, or partisan girl. Yeah, they're seems like they're very fashy. I guess they're like tanky kind of, but like supports, again, they're the worst kind of tanky. The tanky that like supports any authoritarian regime as long as it's like anti-Western empire. The speed at which they allowed the Ukrainians to move in and into these territories should make it obvious that it's a trap. We saw this in Syria more than once. According to my reports, Russian army retreated from Izium to the other side of the river. 4 days they lost more territory than they liberated in 3 months. Oh, then was liberated, yeah. I mean, I don't know. They retreated to the other side of the river. So that means, probably they're not going back, probably. Right? Because again, there's the whole, issue of, transporting things over rivers, right? Which you saw before. Like, ferries can only carry so much.
In varying stages of grief. A funny phenomenon was official Russian
yeah, it's all cope. It's coping. Good evening from Noginsk near Moscow. We do not understand what's happening.
With veteran military bloggers, where propagandists said a funny phenomenon was official.
We do not understand what is happening. We are afraid to imagine what you are feeling now. But the heart already hurts physically for the guys. Aww. That's sad. You know, all these hard-working Russian soldiers are seeing all their work go to waste. Aw. We pray for you, guardian angel. Aw, yeah. Please pray for these innocent Russian troops who are just doing their jobs. They're just following orders. We are ashamed before you for the days of the city in Moscow, which are pompously celebrated. We are ashamed that authorities pretend nothing is happening. Oh, so they're mad that Russia's downplaying the situation. Interesting, because yeah, because Russia's losing ground on both fronts, right? They already lost like the left, or like the anti-invasion people. They're losing the moderates because like it's all these sanctions are bad for the economy, and they're losing the right wing, the nationalists, because they're losing this war that they supported. Like who in Russia supports this war? It's the nationalists, the right wing, the authoritarians, the etc. But now the Russian government is losing even those people, because it's like, what the fuck, you lost this war and now you're pretending like everything is okay?
Official Russian propaganda clashing with veteran military bloggers, where propagandists said everything was okay, while veteran accounts were screaming at them to get real because Russian lines are collapsing. As of the making of this video, there are increasing rumors about Ukrainians having made it all the way to Lysychansk and to Donetsk airport. There are additional reports suggesting Ukrainians have crossed the Oskir River and are about to take Sotovia from where Russians retreated. This would indicate the nearly complete collapse of the Russian military in the area and the Donetsk and Luhansk colonial militias. DPR leader Denis Pushilin has in fact fled from Donetsk city, putting out a situation update from the backseat of a car running full speed on a country road. If I was a Donetsk colonial militia member, now would be the time for me to start worrying. And the most
where's he going in that car? It seems like he's maybe running away from something, maybe.
Russia seems to have closed the borders for occupied Donbass civilians wanting to flee to Russia.
Oh shit.
These are the people who have been living under Russian occupation since 2014, and for 8 years they've been told that the Ukrainian Bandera neo-Nazis are coming to genocide them for speaking Russian. I can only imagine what's...
Oh, yeah, that's curious. I thought these guys were supposed to be protected by Russia, but now Russia doesn't want them. They seems like they're just pawns being used by Russia for their own selfish imperialist ends.
Going through the heads of those people right now. But this
I mean, of course they didn't care about these people. Do you think Russia cares about anyone? Russia doesn't even care about its own citizens. You expect them to care about some random ass people living in eastern Ukraine?
There's ample proof that Russia never actually cared about Donbass civilians.
Oh, it's a big surprise, yeah.
And all this Ukrainian military success will have severe short, mid and long-term implications for Russia, both militarily and politically. First off, they lost a whole lot of
Ukraine, Slava Ukraine.
If morale was bad already,
they're taking down the Russia flag.
First off, they lost a whole lot of territory, men and equipment.
And revealing the dinosaur, cute dinosaur. Cool.
If morale was bad already, now it's bound to be catastrophic.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Russian morale was bad at the beginning of the invasion. And now it was going down, like when Russian advances were slowing down and stopping and stalling, and now like morale has got to be at an all-time low.
This is also a huge loss of face for the supposed second army in the world and a massive PR win for Ukrainians. Second, this will mean more weapons shipments to Ukraine, since now it's clear that if you give Ukrainians modern, Western weapons, they will deliver results. Their success is also dull Western, far-right isolationist criticism.
Oh, now, of course, Ukrainian morale is going to be very high, but now, they've proven themselves on the field of battle. Yeah, Ukrainians are cool now.
The most supporting Ukraine. It also reinforces critics of the war inside Russia, both on the citizen and the leadership level, and there's virtually nothing Putin can do to change this situation. His energy blackmail is already fully played, having cut off gas to Europe completely, and Europe is doing alright, all things considered. Enormous efforts have been made and are being made to replace Russian gas and decrease gas use in general, and once to...
Yeah, that's the one economic card Putin has to play, and it's a pretty big card. It's an ace in the hole. Russia's a gas giant. It exports a bunch of oil and natural gas to Europe, and they cut off that whole supply, which is causing some pretty big issues. Yeah, there's a whole scandal, the energy bill crisis. Oreo, stop coughing. Where like, especially English people are paying obscene amounts for power. For electricity. But yeah, maybe this will have a good effect overall in long term, because if Europe is afraid that Russia might shut off its oil and gas tap at any time whenever Russia decides to invade another country, which it probably won't, but if Russia, I don't know, throws another temper tantrum and just decides to cut off its supplies, then another crisis could happen like this again. So maybe that is definitely encouraging Europeans to move away from fossil fuels. I mean, they were already incentivized to do that, but this is an extra incentive. I heard even Germany is considering bringing nuclear power plants back online, which it was really dumb of them to close them in the first place, to deactivate them. But yeah. Things are looking up.
To get off gas, replacing it with electricity or geothermal, there is no going back to it. Europe will cease to be a market for Russian gas, of which only a fraction can be sold to China and India due to pipeline limitations. Meanwhile, the Russian...
pipeline limitations. Yeah, imagine, I wonder what that means. I mean, Russia and China are still pretty big allies, unfortunately, but, they've always had their differences. So yeah, China did not really support Ukraine or Russia during this war. So yeah, we'll see about that.
The military as a whole is stuck in a quagmire. They are simply too weakened and demoralized to conduct any major offensives from now on. They are stuck on the defensive, trying to fend off Ukrainian attacks on multiple fronts, with less and less people and progressively older equipment. And Putin cannot even declare general mobilization to try and reinforce his army. I mean, he could, but he would be an absolute fool to do so. The infrastructure for mass mobilization doesn't exist anymore, and he'd be breaking the unspoken contract with the Russian population. The war remains a distant event they only see on TV, and in exchange they don't rock the boat. Meanwhile,
oh shit, yeah, I guess for mass mobilization he would have to like do a draft, right? Which is always very unpopular, forcing random civilians to fight in your unpopular war. Yeah, that would already decrease morale more than it already has been. Yeah, and the infrastructure for mobilization, I guess they already did all their mobilization, right, when they first started the war, and now they've slowly, I mean, they weren't doing really great in the beginning of the war, and, yeah, I can't see them doing another offensive anytime soon. I mean, unless they're hiding their power level, which I really doubt.
Sanctions are hurting the Russian economy significantly. If they didn't, Russia wouldn't demand lifting them in exchange for restarting gas supplies to Europe. Putin has no way out. If he pulls out, his nationalist base will...
Yeah, keep the sanctions and stop and keep not sending gas to Europe, which would just yeah, further incentivize transitioning away from fossil fuels. Sounds like a win-win to me.
Turn against him. If he stays in,
that stop sign is shot to hell. Oh, I wonder if it's Russians who are shooting it. Just for target practice, I guess. Yeah. Seems like a Russian thing to do.
The army and economy will be gradually strangled. When things reach a breaking point, when the invasion force collapses and domestic discontent reaches critical levels, when the oligarchic ruling class turns against Putin, the existence of modern Russia itself will be at risk. Especially as Volodymyr Zelensky has recently signaled that Crimea is also
Ukraine will take back Crimea.
Ukrainians took over
by any means, it seems,
it,
right? Yeah. That's a pretty big deal because ooh, over there. Because yeah, Crimea was invaded in 2014. Has been taken back since.
Destroy Vladimir and his most important claim to power.
Oh yeah, I guess that was Putin's biggest achievement was the annexation of Crimea. Yeah, it happened in 2014, and it was a huge scandal of like, you know, just Russia just blatantly just like invading, just like saying that, hey, this is ours now, we want it, and we think it's our right to have it, and it's there's no one's gonna stop us, right? And no one did stop them at the time because I mean, what are you gonna do? Just invade them back? But now that Russia did do another invasion, and now they're retaking territory, they might as well like reclaim some more territory as well, right? Yeah, just go retake Ukraine and then go beyond the border. Just take parts of Russia. Just take Russian territory. Just to teach them a lesson.
His annexation of Crimea, and if Ukrainians manage to roll over Russians in the south, Crimea will be wide open. There is no Russian backup force stationed there. Everything they have is already deployed. Ukrainians achieving success in Crimea will be the end of Vladimir Putin. After that, we can likely expect the collapse of the current Russian power structure, which could very well result in the country's dissolution to disparate regions controlled by local strongmen and oligarchs.
Really? Is that what's gonna happen? I don't know. Like Russia... I'd imagine Russia would probably still exist as a country, but it would just radically change. But yeah, this would be a disaster. I mean, look at the western part. I mean, the eastern part is like a whole different story. I mean these could be like its own countries, maybe, but like, I mean, these were their own countries for a long time. But I mean, the western part. I mean, this has always been Russia, like west of the Ural Mountains, right? Yeah, this would be just like a fucking clusterfuck. Would this be like the Balkans? Like Balkans 2 Electric Boogaloo? Yeah, I think it would be good probably if like the state of Russia continued to exist, at least like in some part for a while.
Will be the end of Vladimir Putin. After that, we can likely expect the collapse of the current Russian power structure, which could very...
I mean, it would probably be the end of Putin. That's fair, yeah, but at least this part has to stay united, right? I mean, these parts, I heard like some of these areas are like partially autonomous regions, which is good. They should be fully autonomous. But I don't know. This would be a whole like gigantic clusterfuck. I think.
It will result in the country's dissolution to disparate regions controlled by local strongmen and oligarchs. It would be the undoing of centuries of Russian imperialism, and I, for one, cannot wait.
Maybe I can wait. The world probably can wait. But yeah, maybe it would be good for the world though if instead of Russia invading other countries, they just attacked each other. Yeah, I mean, Russian oligarchs already are greedy fucks, and they would probably become like feudal lords of some kinds. I could see that happening. But like maybe if they are big enough men to realize that like it's for everyone's best interests, including their own, if they like stay together, like at least Western Russia stays like one country. I mean, this would just be, look at this. What is this a map of? Is this like speculation, or are these like zones? Do these areas mean something? Yeah, I mean, I don't expect much from Russians, but at least they could keep some semblance of unity.
At any rate, one thing is for certain, the coming months won't be fun for the Russians, so expect more good news out of Ukraine and more footage of the shit show the Russians called their special military operation. And I thank you for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I also have a Patreon if you think this content is worth your money. And I'll be seeing you next time.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing a lot more cope from Russia supporters online. All the tankies, right? I think Bo of the Fifth Column also did a video on this. My Son Hunter. Yeah, that was the thing that happened. Bo. Talk about Putin and a Swan Lake moment. It's kind of long, but let's do it.
I'm going to talk about Swan Lake and Swan Lake moments, and whether or not Putin is headed towards a Swan Lake moment.
Probably.
And we're going to do this
whatever that is.
Because
bad.
If you were alive,
Bo's shirts are always on point. He always wears a shirt that corresponds to like what he's talking about. Like right now he just it's just a stick figure that's pointing at the word bad. Bad. Russia, bad. Yeah. That's all you need to know really. He often puts some little Easter eggs in his videos, like right now he has a box that's labeled "Not Secret," in reference probably to Trump's secret documents, right? Yeah.
During the Cold War, and you were politically aware, you know what this means, more than likely.
Not see.
If you weren't, it doesn't make any sense. And I hopped on Google and I tried to find an explanation of it.
Ooh.
And it lays out the facts of these things happened. But it doesn't put it into context for people who weren't alive then. There's a big piece of information that's missing that would make it a whole lot easier to understand.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where we're going to start. What is a Swan Lake moment? In 82, 84, and 85, major Soviet leaders, they died. And during the period in which their replacement was
not a good time for the Soviet Union,
Swan Lake was put on loop on the TV to entertain the masses. Right?
I guess they didn't have much else to show. I mean, the Russian economy was pretty shit at that point in the mid 80s. I mean, that's when the Soviet Union was collapsing, right? Yeah, they couldn't even make new TV shows. Like, how hard is it to like just make a new TV show? But I guess if you already have the footage, you just put it on loop.
And then in 91, when there was a failed coup attempt against Gorbachev, it happened then as well. So this is what people are told. If you're younger, this is the part that makes it make a little bit more sense. There's no internet. There is no other source of information. During the 80s, everything was controlled by the state. The radio, the newspapers, the magazines, everything was controlled by the state.
Yeah, the internet has done a lot for political organizing, yeah. I mean, the governments around the world, authoritarian governments, are like trying to control the internet to some success, varying success. China has done a pretty good job. There's a great Chinese firewall, right? Great Wall of China. But the internet isn't so easy to control, right? If you have the know-how and the resources, you could set up a router that can connect you to the rest of the world.
Now, by 91, things had started to open up a little bit, and there was at least one print. It wasn't really a newspaper or a magazine, kind of a blend of the two. But anyway, there was one thing that wasn't ran by the state. However, as soon as the coup attempt started, the KGB showed up and they were like, yeah, y'all stop working. Don't do anything until this is over. So an information vacuum forms. People don't know what's going on. They don't get any information. Rumors flourish. And Swan Lake is on TV. It becomes synonymous with political turmoil. It's a bad sign.
Because
so why is it surfacing now? Because when you think about it, when the news broadcasters came back on the TV, You were just informed of the new reality.
And it was
You
all bad
weren't
news.
participating in this system. The powers that be, way up the chain, they were making those choices. They were making those decisions. And when the news broadcast came back on and Swan Lake disappeared, you were told what was happening. So it kind of became a symbol of the powers that be doing something behind the scenes in hopes of it being in the best interest of the country. So what's that have to do with Putin? Okay.
Because he's not doing what's in the best interest.
So I think most people understand that the Ukrainian counteroffensive it has gone very well.
Very well.
It's hard to quantify it. It's hard to explain it. But it is very successful. One of the things that people use to quantify war is the number of lost.
And there's been quite a few lost.
The low...
Both sides.
The low end of the estimates,
A lot of Russian.
as far as Russian lost over the last
Tens of thousands. Last few days, a few thousands.
Higher than what the United States lost in Afghanistan the whole time.
Wow.
All 20 years.
Is in the last few days, that is a lot.
And we're talking about just a few days.
Damn.
It has gone very, very badly.
They lost many thousands through the whole Ukraine conflict.
I would say, based off of me looking at the estimates and trying to find an accurate one, I would say it's probably closer to a little bit less than what the United States lost in Afghanistan and Iraq. It hasn't gone well.
Yeah.
On top of that, there's a massive amount of loss of land that Russia took.
Yeah.
The powers that be,
especially
who would put Swan Lake on the air,
they end up losing
Crimea. They know that the war is lost politically. They know that as soon as other countries were like, hey, I want to join NATO, that the objectives of the war failed.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they invaded Ukraine because Ukraine wanted to join NATO. And the invasion encouraged other countries to join NATO. Countries that weren't even going to join NATO, probably, like Sweden, Sweden and Finland. I just made up two countries there. I'd love to live in Sweden. But yeah, they weren't even going to join NATO, but they joined it anyway, just because. I mean, Finland does have a history of being invaded by Russia, but they did fight off Russia pretty well on their own. Finland and Sweden are low-key, like, really fucking badass. You don't think of, like powerful militaries when you think of those countries, but they are. Like, Finland soloed World War II. They fought off the Nazis and then the Soviets. Just all on their own. Just all the way up in the north. And Sweden is, like, low-key a huge military power right now. So, yeah. And then, like, what other countries joined NATO because of the invasion? Was it just those two? Anyway, yeah. It totally backfired. And Ukraine is probably going to join NATO once it pushes all the Russians out. I mean, after this, who knows what NATO will be used for, because, I mean, Russia's probably not going to invade again. But it's just an extra little safeguard.
The only thing they have to salvage this is the ability to retain dirt, to take land and keep it.
Oof,
and that's not happening.
They're old school imperialists.
That means that the nationalists.
Oh, that was the last bargaining chip that they had to play, and even that is failing. Yeah, Russia still thinks it's the 18th century or the 19th century, where you can just invade and take other countries' lands and just sit on it for a while or forever. Yeah, in this globalized world, that's just not how things work anymore, unfortunately.
Within the country are now questioning the war effort.
It's not as fun, maybe, but sure.
And this is happening. Questioning the war effort in a country like Russia right now, that's uncomfortably close. That is super close to questioning the leader behind the war effort.
Yeah.
Now, on top of that, Ukraine has altered its victory conditions. Not just do they want Russians out, they want reparations now.
Ooh,
because
reparations.
They feel that they can probably get them.
That's a big deal. I mean, are they going to get it from Russia? Russia's already broke, isn't it? Yeah, it's going to just make Russia even worse, probably, right? I mean, Russia is already doing pretty terribly. They probably can't afford to pay reparations after all the economic sanctions they've been under, right?
The thing about that is, they're not going to get them by going to Moscow and demanding it. They're not going to take Russian land. They're going to try to negotiate for them. The thing is, Putin will not remain in power through that exchange. If those are the terms that Ukraine seeks, those reparations, that's a bridge too far. Putin will no longer be in power.
Yep.
Which means
a lot.
What do you think may be played on the air? Swan Lake. The powers that be may decide he needs to not be there anymore.
Ooh.
And that would lead to a Swan Lake moment. However, we don't actually want that. I mean, I know a lot of people reflexively might want that, but you really don't. It's probably wise to give Putin an off-ramp. The world doesn't want a failed or unstable Russia.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, the balkanization of Russia would probably not be good for anyone. It may be good for countries fearing invasion from Russia, but definitely would not be good for people within Russia.
Nobody wants that.
Especially because of the nukes. Oh gosh, I didn't think of that. Yeah, if Russia balkanizes, who gets the nukes? Is it just some random warlord who all the warlords just get all the nukes that they can? Will they have conflicts over nuclear weapons? Will they nuke each other? Oh my gosh. Yeah, if only Russia didn't have nukes, that would have been ideal, but yeah. We can't have nukes just floating around aimlessly.
Not really. That's not something that's good for anybody, anywhere in the world. If there's a transition, it needs to be done from within Russia. And it shouldn't rely on outside pressure such as reparations.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I am not saying that Russia shouldn't pay for the damage it's caused.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, at this point, we are now talking about foreign policy.
Should pay something, maybe.
Don't bring silly notions like morality or justice or anything like that into it, because it doesn't have anything to do with what we're discussing.
Oh yeah, there's no room for things like morality when it comes to geopolitics. Yeah, we don't have time for that. Those silly notions.
We're discussing power. That's what foreign policy is about. And a unstable or failed Russia is bad for everybody because it creates a power vacuum and it creates a whole lot of loose material that can find its way into other corners of the world and destabilize the power balance there.
Or they could just sell the nukes, right? I mean, Russia's going to be real strapped for cash, right? And if they balkanize, and if the nukes just end up in random warlords or oligarchs, would they just not sell the nukes just to make a few quick bucks? They could sell them to terrorist organizations or other countries or rogue states that don't have nukes but want them. Does Saudi Arabia have nukes? I think they have a few. Anyway, yeah. Not good for anyone.
So, if there is a Swan Lake moment for Putin in the future, hope that it is an internal decision based on dissatisfaction with his leadership, not because it's an effective way of getting out of paying a bill.
Yeah.
But I don't see any way Putin could retain power after failing in Ukraine and then having to pay Ukraine.
Ooh, yeah. Fuck you, pay me. Yeah, well, they were the aggressors, so maybe they should pay. But I wouldn't underestimate Vladimir Putin. I don't know, he's a brutal dictator. He's a real strong man. Wouldn't be surprised if he did some power politics to stay in power, right? Just I don't know, imprisoned or straight up just fucking murdered his political opponents. I mean, he basically did that with Navalny. Wait, what happened with Navalny? Is he like still alive? Is he in prison? Is he being tortured in a Russian gulag? Yeah. I mean, he'd probably be very unpopular within Russia. But like, he could maybe still hold on to power somehow.
So that's something that hopefully Ukraine has altered the victory conditions to show their confidence, and they're not actually hoping that to get this, and they're not going to press for it, not too hard anyway. So I hope that catches everybody up. That's why the ballerinas, the 4 ballerinas dancing, that's why that's showing up everywhere. It's now even showing up as graffiti in Russia. So anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.
Anyway, yeah, would be nice to see all the clusterfuck that happens in Russia after this, right? All the internal politics of just coping with the loss. U.S. is providing time-sensitive intel to help Ukraine on the battlefield, Pentagon. Yeah, I mean, U.S. has been helping out Ukraine throughout this whole thing, and we're not going to stop now. I mean, it is in the U.S.'s best interest to see Ukraine win. One, because like Ukraine is a pretty big partner of the U.S., like business, political partner. Also, because Russia's our enemy, right? Helping them fight Russia is good for us politically, because like, if Russia is less powerful, that's good for America. Probably good for like a lot of other people too. I hate to say it, but like Russia, it just kind of sucks. I'm sorry. I know they did like communism and everything, and like they were beacons of hope for leftists all around the world, but doesn't take away from all the shitty stuff they did. I mean, Russia was Russia. Russia has always been Russia. Before, after, and during the Soviet Union, they've always been just like brutal imperialists that just want to build this giant empire. Honestly, I wonder if the Balkanization of Russia would not end in some good thing. I mean, in the short term it'll be chaos, but maybe in the long term it'll reach like a stable point. If no nuclear shenanigans go on, maybe all the bad people will kill each other, right? All the toxically masculine dudes who are into fighting will just fight each other to death. Ugh, I'm really gassy, jeez. And then the ones that are left over will be the good ones, right? The good Russians. Documented security guarantees for Ukraine presented in Kiev. Zelensky's chief of staff and former NATO Secretary General presented the first document with recommendations on the international security guarantees for Ukraine. That means if Ukraine is ever invaded again, that they'll be guaranteed security by former NATO Secretary General. So yeah, they're probably just gonna join NATO, right? Why do you need a special document for that? Is Dylan Burns still in Ukraine? Good for him. Doing that journalism. Was the Pentagon surprised by the speed of Ukraine's counteroffensive in the Kharkiv region? Pentagon press secretary Pat Ryder. If anyone was surprised just based on the reports we've seen, it was probably the Russians. Nice. Yeah, if anyone was surprised, it was the Russians. But, is that dodging the question? You're not saying, yes or no. Were you surprised? Or was the Pentagon surprised?
It's not surprising to us that they have pushed.
It's not surprising to us.
Well, certainly since the beginning of Russia's invasion into Ukraine, we've seen the Ukrainians demonstrate a remarkable adaptability and their.
Yeah, the Ukrainians really stepped up to the plate.
So it's not surprising to us that they have pushed as fluidly as they have. They've also again shown a remarkable ability to take advantage of opportunities that present themselves.
They're very capitalist in that way, capitalizing on the opportunities.
I think if anyone was surprised, just based on the reports that we've seen in terms of the Russian military's response, it was probably the Russians.
Yeah, the Russians were really caught off guard with this one, weren't they?
They've also again shown a remarkable ability to take advantage of opportunities that present themselves on the battlefield, and the current counteroffensive in Kharkiv is no exception to that. I think if anyone was surprised, opportunities that present themselves again showed a remarkable ability to take advantage of opportunities that present themselves on the battlefield, and the current counteroffensive in Kharkiv is no exception to that. I think if anyone was surprised, just based on the reports that we've seen in terms of the Russian.
So this is big. Russian occupiers begin leaving Crimea and southern Ukraine with their families. An urgent evacuation of Russian proxies, intelligence officers, and military commanders is taking place, the main intelligence directive said. The developments are a direct result of successful Ukrainian counteroffensives, the report said. Yeah, it's one thing if they're leaving southern Ukraine, but if they're leaving Crimea River, yeah, that means they're anticipating an offensive into Crimea. I mean, you'd think if Crimea was Russian territory, they would hold the line, right, at the border between Crimea and Russia. But if they're fleeing Crimea, that's a pretty big sign. That's pretty good. Good sign. This may be controversial. If the world had helped Ukraine against the annexation of Crimea, we wouldn't be here now. It may be controversial. Yeah. That, yeah, I guess if you stand up to Russia, they would... If you stood up to Russia back then, they would be scared to do another invasion, right? We have been way overly scared of this group of terrorists who won't even label them as a terrorist state, which they clearly are. Yeah, I don't know if terrorist is the right word. They're definitely, like, brutal imperialists who will just take territory. I guess ISIS takes territory, or the Taliban, or whatever, just form, like, pseudo-governments. But is Russia really a government? It's just a bunch of thugs running the government. Who's there? Crimea. Crimea who? Crimea River. Yeah, I'm not the first one to come up with that joke, obviously. Yeah, Crimea River Putin. Oh, is Putin gonna lose his job as the head, the king of bullies in Russia? Well, Crimea River. Could be an airstrike coming. Evacuation prior to airstrikes is standard. Airstrikes by Russia on Russian targets in Crimea. I mean, why would you... It's obviously, like, Ukrainian airstrikes incoming for Russia. Troops will stay and fight until the end. Yeah, I don't know about that. Fighting's getting closer and they don't want their families to be in danger. I don't know. Yeah, again, the Russian morale is very low. It was low at the beginning. It got lower, like, over time, and then, yeah. Now it's at an all-time low. Yeah, there were Russian troops, like, deserting at the beginning of the invasion. You think they're not going to desert now? Leave for an hour and miss this post. Yeah. We'll leave for another hour and Crimea will be back to Ukraine, hopefully. Maybe not that quick, but eventually. Not blowing up the Kerch Bridge proves to be in line with Sun Tzu's reasoning of always leaving a way out for your enemies so they don't fight with the spirit of desperation. See Azovstal. Blow it up after they left for good. Yeah. Or make it impassable to vehicle traffic, maybe a pile of heavy concrete blocks topped with the Ukrainian flag. This maybe becomes a big symbol of Putin's failure and would still exist after Swan Lake plays on Russian TV, in case relations change. Yeah, we already heard about Swan Lake, yeah. Yeah, what was it? Like, Swan Lake is what they play when they, yeah. When they know things are going bad. Extremely sus. What if they're leaving Crimea? Not sending more battalion in Ukraine as they planning on drops big... Oh no. Leaving Crimea. They're gonna drop something big like a nuke, maybe? A tactical nuke? Gosh. Yeah, that's a good... Anyway, that's a good military strategy, yeah. You gotta leave a way for your enemies to retreat, otherwise they're gonna fight to the death. In that case, they're not fighting for their country or their commanding officers, they're fighting to keep their lives, right? Or fighting to not become prisoners. I mean, if you want them to surrender or die, then you want them to be trapped. But if you just want them out of your country, you just want them to get the fuck out, then yeah, and leave a way to retreat. Yeah, we saw with the blowing up of the bridges, it's gonna be hard for Russia to, like, transport stuff. It's gonna be hard for them to retreat. And if they do retreat, they're gonna have to leave behind a lot of equipment and vehicles. So maybe, yeah, destroy the vehicle bridges, but leave a way for personnel to retreat. Yeah, just make it impossible to vehicle traffic. Crimea is Ukraine. Yes. Ah, the sunflowers. May the sunflowers grow on the corpses of fallen Russian soldiers. Oskar Shavapal, soloist of National Opera Ballet, honored artist of Ukraine, died in combat near Mariupolsk, Donetsk region. He went to the front lines as a volunteer and served as a grenade launcher. R.I.P. hero. Is this a grenade launcher? That's badass. He was a male ballet artist. Then he went to go fight. Yeah. This is why Ukraine won, because their morale was just so high, because they were fighting to keep their homeland. They were fighting to defend their families, their neighbors, their loved ones, their comrades. Whereas what was Russia fighting for? They were fighting for national pride. Yeah. Ukraine's morale was high from the start, so high that even people with so much to lose, like these rich and talented, celebrated, famous people, are going into combat. risking their lives and sometimes losing them. Yeah. Slava Ukraine, guys. RIP, in peace. Ukraine's successful counteroffensive only surprised Russia. Ukraine's counteroffensive against Russia in Kharkiv Oblast was not a surprise to its allied partners. Yet, only Russia was surprised. Anyway, I think that's that for this segment. Good job, Ukraine. Long live Ukraine. May Crimea become part of Ukraine again, and may Russia not do anything with its nukes, because pretty bad. No nuclear stuff, please. Oh my gosh, there was already that thing with the biggest nuclear power plant in Europe being shelled. Like, please, like, do not blow up any nuclear power plants. Do not do anything nuclear, okay? Just please, guys. Just chill. Anyway, yeah. This guy will be a martyr, or he'll die a hero, as will all the Ukrainians. Okay, well, Slava Ukraini, and may we all live in peace very soon.